This was again a very intense and vivid experience, and followed on the heels of the one I had where I was assisting Duane in the removing of agreements in an individual's subconscious. Seems I was given another opportunity. It was again all impressions, and so falls the task of bringing the impressions back from the real side to the physical, and converting them into a literal narrative that can be relayed. Not always easy, it can be said. I was under the watchful eye of Duane, or a real guide. I'm uncertain as to which, or it may have been Duane and a guide, or again, or both. Again, it was all impressions, and again I can discern them as the genuine beings, as their awareness afford them a tremendous, undeniable presence, like a real light aura of the all is, that no clone, hologram, or shape-shifting fakester can replicate. Anyway, the experience was very vivid, as I say, but it was rather the difficulty fathoming out and literalizing what was going on. Seems I was being given the floor to display creational manipulating ability, as far as I could tell, but on a far vaster scale than ever before. We can all manipulate creation. We do it every day. Our wants and desires are projections that bring us what we seek. Unfortunately, in creation, our manipulation of it as a reflective bubble for our needs has with it the cause and effect principle, which has us restricted and stuck in creation resultingly. In the real universes of the seventh level, manipulation occurs without cause and effect, and in the all-is there is no need for free will manipulation, as everything is, and we can't add anything to that, or we cannot be with it. If one is standing in the new nowness of the is anywhere in creation, and what they manipulate is of a benefit for awareness of oneself or others, then this will not carry cause and effect consequences any longer, as our real intent is set, and the karma is absent consequently. So maybe then, in the new nowness of the is, wherever I was in this real side experience, I was being allowed to perform a grand manipulation. The impression was for no other reason than simply for practice purposes, but evidently it is perhaps a prelude to things to come down the line, of potentially a beneficial awareness-enhancing nature. Then it wouldn't be a frivolous cause and effect inducing exercise. Besides, I was with the guides and Duane, so all was well. Seems I was somewhat unprepared for my grand demonstration, as though it were expected of me, but somehow I hadn't been aware of it until this moment, and was rather put on the spot. Possibly I had been briefed as to the upcoming exercise, but perhaps inadvertently slipped out of the degree of awareness required to recognize this, and so I had literally forgotten. My real self knew, but the message lost in translation. My personal self dropping the real self letter down a drain by accident or something. Anyway, so here I was, with no preparation, but I proceeded. It seems I had the liberty of deciding the nature of my performance, and executing it any way I wanted. I at least knew the degree of magnitude expected of my manipulation, and seemed I knew how to do it too, my real self at the wheel, or the little personal self, if present more so, wouldn't know what was going on, or how to do what was to come next. I created what I can only describe as a universe. It was such a vivid experience too. I brought forth stars and star systems. I created spiraling galaxies and solar systems of planets, bringing it all to life, and exacting all the electromagnetic laws I chose to mesh it all together. It was all rather fascinating. Seems I simply could do this, and maybe my creation was enough. But a little of my personal self crept in, almost a teeny glimmer of ego, perhaps the want to impress. I was adding ideas then to my real self, standing with the is-state of being, and so my perfect created universes, that was a reflection of my real beingness with nothing added, which should have sufficed as my demonstration, became something else. In my teeny whiff of arrogance, I created an anti-universe, everything opposite to that of my other universe. The matter that comprised each would be completely opposed to each other. My objective was to bring both universes together, and should I do so, they would both be completely destroyed. However, as I would bring these opposing universes into proximity with each other, I was creating a third. The third universe was of such a design and electromagnetic structure that it would almost neutralize the harmful effects each universe would cause to the other, almost as a buffer, and so, I believed, I could bring then all three universes together, merge them, and they would become one. But at this point, as I say, my personal self had crept in, and had added to what would be my perfect absolute demonstration, a demonstration that can only be so if I stood 100% with my real self with the is. And I had thus miscalculated, and everything became quite the mess, and descended into chaos. A guide stepped in and dispelled my creation, and it was no more. I stood before the guide, or Duane, or both, or several of them, standing like rather a naughty schoolboy, having stolen the teacher's apple or something. One of the guides was a little stern, I remember, and I received a breakdown of what I did and how it went wrong, and the interjection of my personal self that caused the problem. And yes, I should have stopped with the initial universe, but was trying to impress them. And this idea, this want to impress, and the hint of ego that was another idea activated, did indeed have me not entirely with my real being isness, and this was exemplified in the result. There was much dialogue, but it's not always easy to recall it all, or bring it all back to the physical life level and make sense of it, to literalize it into words that can be expressed. One guide a little stern, but the others seemed more amused, and all in all, another new experience for me. Certainly a comparison between physical level mundane dreariness and experiences with all the filters of the psych realms and the layers of ideas that encapsulate them removed. Can't say I've ever created anything on such a scale before, but seems it is a part of whatever I am doing with the guides on the real side. I perhaps lack the recognition to fully grasp its implications at this moment, but it was pretty far out. The real self certainly knows all manner of things, if allowed to do so, and again, a valuable lesson and reminder to keep the personal pesky self out of it. But I suppose, were I standing real in the real universes of the is, I wouldn't have a personal self, so that wouldn't be an issue. Then again, the guides have personal vehicles they activate throughout creation for their sharings and awareness bolstering demonstrations that they provide. So when they manipulate creation for beneficial reasons, they must to be careful to not allow the personal self, if it is present, wherever they happen to be, from interceding and messing up what they are trying to achieve. After this experience, prior to waking, I had a lengthy dialogue with Duane too, again unable to bring the specifics back with me, and as I tried focus on the words, it brought me out of alignment with the scene every time, and I had to just be and let go for it to return. But again, as my recognition and awareness continues on, I may learn of the words somewhere down the road. I find that if I struggle to hear words, I am effectively trying to strain with my physical senses, which focuses me on my physical vehicle and brings me out of alignment with the life level the interaction is occurring on, because naturally we can only use the ears on the physical life level. All other life levels are recognitions and more impressions. So if I can't hear words or dialogue, I must lack the awareness or recognition to be completely able to discern the life level the dialogue is taking place on. The trick is then to stop trying, to just be and see, and that in that case, that is the best you can hope to receive by way of the experience according to the awareness and recognition you have.
Again, terrific, Mr. Kevin. Very sincere of you to share that, very humbling. Thank you so much. It's very important. You are the witness, young man, and you did fine. And I would say that it might have been reserved Paul kind of saying things a little bit up front because I let them do it. And it is rather humorous. We're all fine. We're all kids, really, in life. And we're just going through what we're going through. And it's all okay. Especially, the best part, though, is that when you really start to recognize this more so than the ideas that we have come to know, and that's why I use the sun. Learn to recognize what it is demonstrating. Okay? So the emotions, the this and that, the happiness, the hearing, and all these things, seeing beyond your seeing, your physical eye, but you use that too. So you align that and learning to recognize that. It's very important. So in a real position, yes, it is that recognition, and I go by pure sincerity. And that is that as you learn to recognize your own intent, more so than just things you want for the personal self, because that's going to take place anyhow. All right, you're going to go shopping, you're going to go to the movies, you're going to do whatever. Okay, find your relationships, fine, that's your personal self. But through all these lifetimes, now here's a real opportunity like never before, and you decide how you want to see and be it. And that's what I call UP, universal positioning. You decide how you're going to position yourself with this. And guess what? What's so cool about it is that you become everywhere. You don't have to travel. That's the old thrill-seeking idea, astral projection, soul travel, remote viewing. That's fine, and you can still do those things, okay? These things occur, but overall, it's awareness. You practice recognizing this isness. And the best part is how you can learn to see it without words and ideas or considerations. But it's real. It's so real. It's everything. And it penetrates everything. But you have to decide how to see that. So again, thank you so much for sharing that. You're such a cool guy for showing up and having the courage to do this, and all the funny things you go through. It's terrific. We all go through this. I do too. I do funny things. Sometimes I'm trip over myself here because of how the personal self is and how restricted we are. But the world is what's taking place, and I'm not going to sit here and watch the world burn. So this is why I create the projects, to try and get people's attention. Very, very real. And as you, again, as you have these experiences, and you just simply, you don't need the notoriety, you don't need the ego. You just, like a child, you just be sincere with providing something that makes sense, the best you can with the whole of life. It is so cool. That becomes everything. You see, then you don't need all these little things anymore. You don't need these things that reflect the personal self, and eventually the personal self doesn't exist. You are all awareness, and you are free to be wonderful every single moment. That is a real life. It's better than going to a place like after death. You go to some place in creation that's really nice and pretty and wonderful, and you're with all your friends and you're just happy and whatever. That's only going to last so long, just like here. And that's fine. But that's not it. It's a lot better. And who will take the risk to see that? Well, you're doing it. Thank you so much for sharing that.